Hey, what is up, guys? JTX here. Back from Exilecon 2023. Decided to make a video, talk about my experiences with Exilecon, and also trying out PoE 2. As you can see in the background here, this is the Exilecon 2023 hideout. They gave these to attendees. It's really, really cool. It has 3 different layers of the hideout you can jump to. I think some of the terrain here is actually from based off the PoE 2 Act 2 theme. Now, I've put the video into 3 parts, so you can jump across the sections on what section you want to see. I'll start talking about my Exilecon experience, then I'll go into my initial thoughts about PoE 2, and then I'll also talk about the 3.22 expansion league coming up in 3 weeks. So, the Exilecon experience, how was it being there live in person? I thought it was kind of surreal to begin with, seeing Chris Wilson, streamers, people that you normally just see on videos most of the time, and then actually seeing them in person. It's kind of like a surreal experience. I think the initial keynote that was live, that was awesome, hearing Chris say, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games. People really liked that part.
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games.
We were sitting up on, I think, the balcony row. I realized we should have been sitting in the actual middle of the seats. We went to the wrong seats, but turned out okay in the end. I have some footage of the actual stage and some footage into space throughout this video of the demonstrations, the gameplay, and also some of the other showcases we went to. Overall, I think the Exilecon experience was great. I think it was really, really cool for, as like a PoE player for almost like 10 years, more than 10 years, seeing where it's got to and how big the following it has. And seeing all like these passionate PoE players going around, and like everyone being like in a cool, in a great mood, trying out PoE 2. And there was this card game that they ran this year and also last time. It's you get a box of cards when with your swag bag when you pick up your badge. And all the staff members are just wearing shirts throughout the event, so all the GG staff. And then you get cards that you can get from fighting them, and then ultimately you're meant to work your way up to fight Chris, or I think Mark or Rory, and they each drop a mirror pin that you can win. Unfortunately, we had the cards to beat Chris, but we didn't get a chance to actually fight him. He's always, I think there was always a really long line to go meet him, as well as we tried meeting him in a meet and greet, but we were just a little bit too late. So we didn't get a chance to beat Chris, but that's okay. Maybe next time. I know a lot of players were really, really excited to try this card game and also try with a mirror from them. So a lot of people did get mirrors on the first day, and then there was even a line after Exilecon ended on the second day to meet Chris, to fight him, to try to get a mirror from him. I think some people missed out, unfortunately, but I think a lot of people that did wait did get a chance to get the mirror. So the initial Exilecon itself, we went, so I personally went to, I think, 2 or 3 of the different showcases. So I went to the boss showcase where they showed the PoE 2 bosses and all the fights. So I think Octavian was the one giving the demo. You clapped a bunch of times, and then they got a viewer. Actually, funny story, they got a viewer from the audience. That person was sitting right next to me. He raised his hand really, really early and was waving it about. So he got called upon to do the boss fight. You kind of might be able to see me in the actual stream, but it's very dark. I was sitting next to a bunch of my mates that also played PoE. And yeah, so that boss fight experience was really, really interesting. And I'll get more into it in my PoE 2 initial thoughts. Just seeing all the showcases, I think visually the graphics for PoE 2 are insane. You've probably seen it on the stream and all the videos. It looks amazing. I think it's definitely taking the title of a next generation ARPG. The other showcases I went to, I think there was a unique item showcase. I couldn't quite catch that, but I did get to see the Q&A with the devs. So one of the Q&As was just like referring to all the questions people had for PoE 1 and PoE 2. So like we found out information like Quicksilver's not being a part of PoE 2, no movement skills in PoE 2. I think the Q&A was really interesting, seeing how the devs were splitting the methodologies for PoE 1, PoE 2. And the other couple of showcases I attended were just mainly gameplay showcases, showing streamers playing it like Matho or Crypt. Seeing veteran players try out the game and get I guess destroyed a couple times. That felt I don't know, reassuring or funny because obviously they've been playing the game a very long time and they know the game very well. So to see very experienced players still get I guess annihilated by some monsters and mobs, that was an interesting experience. So kind of understand how a normal player will do against the PoE 2 monsters and bosses. I'll go into the actual PoE 2. My initial thoughts about after seeing the gameplay or trying the gameplay itself. I played two different characters. I played the Huntress. That was in Act 2, a level. It was like level 20 or 30 character that you run through Act 2. So kind of like this desert terrain you see me behind me, this kind of my current hideout. That was a pretty interesting experience because she used a spear, which is a new type of weapon that's not currently available in PoE 1. I fought two of the mini bosses in Act 2. I've realized what I think DGG have done now is 4 unique bosses from before. Each unique boss now is like almost like its own mini encounter. You get a HP bar at the top of the screen, and then you fight it, and it has like its own mechanics. I think for like the more major bosses, they get more mechanics. Some of the more smaller bosses, not as many mechanics. I think the funny thing about the build itself was the methodology was that they wanted the combat to feel rewarding and impactful. But obviously, as a PoE player, we have to try to min-max, find the best skill, the best way of fighting, and we did the exact same thing with the Huntress. So we found out that there's one skill that was superior for clearing, which is Lightning Spear. You just throw it, and it just blows up packs of mobs. And then the best skill for single target was like it was like some sort of spear thrust. So you stab like 5 times in a row sequentially, and it's really really fast. And it also stunned bosses a lot. So pretty much how the bossing experience went on that character was go up to the front of the boss, spam your single target skill until the boss gets stunned, and hold your life flask, keep tapping it. It wasn't as crazy as some of the other showcases, but that's when I'll get into my second character, which was a Marauder or some sort of like a melee-based class, and that was a struggle. So this class was, I think, in Act 4, I believe. It's at level around almost level 50. The gear was abysmal on the character, which definitely would probably play into the feeling of the character. But running that into Act 5, it didn't feel great as a melee character because they gave you a leap slam, but not really the leap slam we're used to. It's really really slow, and you really had to use the dodge rolls that I kept talking about to fight some of the bosses. But as any good PoE player would know, you look at your gear, you look at your gem links to see how you can make it better. So the very first thing I did was I opened up the gem link. So the gem link system now is no longer on armor. You don't have sockets in armor. Each character just has a set number of gem links. I believe 7. And so I looked at the gem links they gave us. So they gave us Leap Slam attached to Pulverize. Pulverize slows the attack speed of Leap Slam down, which I was kind of confused about. So I took it out. Leap Slam felt a lot better. They also had a bunch of other skills for the Marauder-based class. But it turned out Sunder was the best skill. The best skill for melee was a range skill, go figure. And then instead of having all these other skills, they want you to use like an armor break and a channeled slam. Pretty much I took all the support gems out of that, put it into Sunder, and I was in business. It felt a lot better than trying to go through some sort of skill rotation or trying to be really fancy with the combat. Just, putting all the support gems into Sunder and then attacking from far away. That was the way to go. I fought one of the bosses on, I believe it was called Shrike Island. It was a giant bird, and these all spoilers, by the way, for PoE 4. So if you don't want any spoilers, just jump ahead in the video. It was a bird boss that would spit out like a mini boss, like another dog. So you're fighting both of them simultaneously. Tried to fight a few times with the gem links and gems they gave us. Didn't feel so good. Died each time. Made the swap to solely going Sunder, getting rid of the Pulverize and Leap Slam, beat the boss after two more tries, and consequentially, my mate, Local Identity, he also tried the fight. He never realized that you could swap the gems, so I think he failed that boss for like 45 minutes straight, 30 minutes straight. So that's how much time they gave you for a PoE 2 session. You get 45 minutes in the session, then you go back, wait in line again, get another 45-minute session in. I beat that boss. And then went to try the other boss. I think they showcased it was like a drowned guy in the prison. That fight was really, really cool. I think GGG have done an amazing job with the PoE 2 boss fight so far. Noting that though, after the first time you run it, maybe the second time you run it, I don't know how much replayability there's going to be. Um, Especially noting that since they've said with the 100 bosses being added, all of them give you a stat bonus like Spirit or like just an additional stat bonus that you probably want on your character, and it doesn't carry in between leagues. So you might have to potentially do 100 bosses every single league in PoE 2 to get all the stat bonuses. So kind of like almost like a renown system in Diablo 4. Not too sure how I feel about that. I think the first time you guys fight the bosses is going to be amazing. It's going to feel almost like a boss fight from like a Souls game, or just like a really almost like a pinnacle fight that you have now, like Maven or Exarch or Uber Eater or Uber Elder slash Eater. All those fights felt really I think rewarding because you do progressively learn the mechanics and get better until you do beat the boss, and then using I think the dodge roll and not having any mobility skills really pushes the limits of your ability to actually as a player to actually interact with the mechanics. Now, noting that obviously, replayability, I'm not sure. I think it might get a bit old after maybe the 5th time, 6th time, up to the 10th time you've done it, all your characters. Kind of interested to see how GGG will approach this, whether there'll be like a skip campaign option, or there'll be some sort of way to incentivize the fight. Maybe the league mechanic makes the fight different. We'll have to see how that works there. So out of those two demos, I think the Huntress obviously felt better than the Marauder. Or I'm not sure exactly what the class was called, but it was melee class with slam, so call it the Marauder. Yeah, you definitely feel the combat is much slower in PoE 2. That is the main takeaway. Your character feels much slower. Your combat feels a lot more slower. It feels a lot more deliberate what you're doing. The visual, I guess the textures, the maps, the environment looked absolutely amazing. It's probably it is the probably no it is the best I guess ARPG graphics you can see at the moment. I don't think any game is close. Maybe D4, but I think PoE is very far ahead in terms of how they've designed the environment and also the settings that they've done. They look amazing, and I'm sure there's going to be more news closer to the date. I think the date itself is June. Closed beta is June 2024. So I think that's kind of an interesting decision they've made, where they pushed back the date itself all the way to next year, potentially PoE 2 launching in 2025. That's a very long timeline, especially noting that they've split the games into PoE 1, PoE 2. I think they probably will provide an update for the PoE 1 players about where the direction of the game is going to go. Me personally, as a content creator, obviously I'll be playing both. I'll be making content for both, build guides for both, hopefully. And I think it is a good thing that if PoE 2 is the direction they're taking it for more meaningful methodical combat, they might be able to go crazy with PoE 1. So you kind of get the demigod fantasy where you get to, go back to, fingers crossed, old Headhunter, Self Curse, you get the crazy stuff again. But since they're no longer balancing PoE 1 around PoE 2, potentially we might set that in the future. Personally, I think it's an interesting decision that they did decide to split the 2 player bases for PoE 1, PoE 2. I think it's a bold decision, and I think GGG do have the ability to pull it off, but noting that it is very hard when you split a game into 2 player bases. It's been done before and not always done well, so we'll have to see how GGG manage that. So I'll move on to my 3.22 thoughts now. So this is the upcoming league expansion for PoE 1. I think it's known as the Trials of the Ancestors. Initially, I made a joke to all my friends there. It's like a fantasy football league, like an auto battler, obviously, where you kind of draft your own team, and then like you battling a team against another. I think the more interesting thing from this actual the rewards from the league mechanic are going to be a lot more interesting than the league mechanic itself, because I think they mentioned this tattoo system they're adding in, where you can change your passives to different points. I think that's going to allow a crazy amount of build diversity, potentially noting that there might be some really cool notables or some really cool bonuses you can get on your passive points. I'm really looking forward to see really looking forward to seeing what you can get on those tattoos. Also, RIP for the POB guys. They're going to have a very, very interesting time coding how that's going to work. But great for a content creator, so a build creator or content creator, where you can kind of really tinker around with the nuances of the new league currency. So the other big one is Sanctum is back. So what does that mean for the actual league and maybe the economy or for the player base? So Sanctum itself had some really, really powerful, unique items, most notably being Original Sin, which was a ring that converted all your elemental damage into chaos damage. Absolutely insane. It allowed its own subclass of builds based entirely around that ring. I think they said they're going to balance the relics, the uniques, everything in Sanctum, so it fits into the core game. I'm really looking forward to seeing Sanctum uniques again, also the Sanctum itself, because that was actually really, really fun and really, really rewarding, because you can get direct currency, you can get like a mirror, and then you're going to have to start sweating for the last 4 rooms. I think how they've approached Sanctum League, they haven't added in the Sanctified Relic, so I think that's a maybe a little bit disappointing, because I think some players do like Sanctified Relics and having additional power, but I do think people shouldn't be penalized for not doing Sanctum, because then you're missing out on the Sanctified Relic. You have to go buy it. I think finding the right balance between people running Sanctum and people not running Sanctum is going to be interesting, because Sanctum was very, very rewarding, the loot it gave. And obviously you're going to have the 0-hit builds to farm the Original Sins. You're going to have really, really optimized builds for Sanctum itself. And also they've added in a defense system for Resolve, so we're going to see how that works. Last time playing Melee was pretty much impossible for Sanctum League. Just getting hit pretty much meant the run ended for a lot of the boom slash curses that you would get. I think 3.22 itself brings back Crash the Treasure, the Prophecy. That's going to be cool. It also brings the currency that lets you see the next outcome of an item. Not sure how exactly that's going to work yet, but potentially, yeah, people have been saying it's like an Eternal Warp in Standard, where you essentially make perfect items. If you do end up getting one of those drop, or end up farming one of those, I think it's going to be ridiculously expensive. Probably maybe less than a mirror. I'm not sure how much less than a mirror. Potentially could be the same price as a mirror as the league goes on. Really, really crazy currency item that they added. The league mechanic itself, I think it's going to be really interesting, seeing how you can make a team to fight, another NPC's team. Initially, I thought when they gave the announcement it was going to be some sort of PvP league, and I was like, holy crap, that's going to be insane if it's a PvP league. But no, you're going to be fighting an AI-controlled team with your own team. I think straight away there's going to be some builds that are going to excel at this more than others. So generally build with high amounts of damage and high amounts of screen clear, like AoE clear. They're going to do really, really well for this mechanic. Not sure how they're going to balance around that with some slower classes, tanky classes would that somehow compete as well. Myself, I'm tossing up between if I go bleed bow again, or if I try something with my minion build. When I say minion build, I normally go Arakali's Fang. I love that unique item. Or even like a spellcaster. We'll have to really see. As well as the new support gems that are coming in. I think the support gems are going to be really, really cool. I haven't really had a chance to look at all the support gems yet, because they haven't released all the information. And as we get closer to the date, I might do a video talking about those and how they can be used with existing builds, or potentially making new builds around them. And then, yeah, I think those are just my initial thoughts for 3.22. Nothing too crazy. I think the league itself is going to be very interesting. It's something that hasn't been done before in an ARPG, like putting an auto battle into an ARPG. Part of me was a little bit disappointed with the announcement, because I thought it was going to be an endgame expansion, so similar to like Echoes of the Atlas with like Maven and Exile and Ida. I thought they'd add a new series of bosses. Potentially that comes at the end of this year, so I have been looking forward to fighting some new pinnacles for a while, because my previous character, the character you see right now on screen, I fought, I think, almost 200 Uber Eaters this league to try to get an Ashes. Didn't get one. We'll continue that journey next league. But yeah, looking forward to having some new endgame content would also be really cool. Also got a chance to meet a bunch of the streamers in a bouldering session on the day after Exilecon. So, and then afterwards went to an escape room. That was really, really cool. Met, I think it was Mathil, Quinn, Noogie, Steel Mage, I think Khan as well. It was outside the escape room. I think the whole experience for Exilecon was great. It's amazing. There are rumors that there might be an Exilecon next year, which would be really interesting to see what else they have up their sleeves to show like us PoE players. But yeah, so those are the initial thoughts I have for both Exilecon, PoE 2, and the new league coming up. As always, guys, I really do appreciate you guys watching my videos. Please leave a comment about what you're excited to see in 3.22 and also PoE 2. How do you guys feel about the changes? And if you want to see more content, I'll be making more videos as we get closer to the league start date. And I hope to see you guys in the next video.